guys, so congrats, right? You're at the point now where you need to make sure your unit's going to pass the home quality standards inspection. So that just means essentially you're looking to have a clean, fully operational, safe, and sound unit that you definitely want anyway as a landlord. Of course, your tenant wants, and just think that's what the home quality standard inspector is going to want as well. What that means, though, to all three parties might be a little bit different. So in the training, you're going to see there's a checklist there. Go to that checklist. Essentially, assume that the inspector is going to look at every one of those items. You're going to become systematic. I actually include on the forecaster the main primary culprit of items that might be scrutinized and likely the reason your unit does fail. There's simple things, there's more complex things, and there's more hidden things that you may not look for and know to look for, such as, for instance, the lower bottom right quadrant of my screen one time during an inspection was ripped. It was a cat from a previous tenant I had, and it failed for that reason. Hairline fracture in the tile floor was still on the grout, still connected to the floor. It was deemed a tripping hazard. It failed. Buckling, slight buckle in the floor. It was a laminate flooring, hardwood, and it had a little bit of a gap. Actually, it wasn't really buckling, and that gap was considered a tripping hazard. It failed. Now, go into each inspection thinking it's going to be scrutinized from A to Z. It likely won't. It likely will just be a quick 5 minute in and out. The inspector walks around, looks at stuff, checks the water. So, all water, all sinks, checks the fridge, make sure it's clean, it's operable, it's cold, checks the freezer, make sure the seal on the freezer and on the fridge are sealed tight, things like that. Caulking around the sink, caulking around the tub, check for mold. You're going to essentially become pretty, it's going to become common practice for you guys, even when you're in somebody else's house. You're going to get to this point where you're just looking around, you're like, oh, that wouldn't fly in section 8. But on the spreadsheet, I put it on there, even on the forecaster, just the main ones that you're going to want to look for. Because I believe if it's in sight, it's in mind. And that means you're going to be out there looking at that. And tell your realtor to be looking for those things. Look at the water heaters, look for thermal expansion tanks. The list is pretty vast though, but familiarize yourself ahead of time and prepare the unit prior to you owning the unit. Prepare for those repairs. And that's what we talk about in a later chapter as well, though, is gathering your resources. You're going to need a plumber, you're going to need an electrician, you're going to need these guys eventually. Even if you don't need them up front, you'll probably need them in a year or two down the road, a general handyman. Get those things all lined up, and that includes making sure you're looking through that unit even before you own it. Prepare for whatever needs to get up to the home quality standards in order to pass it, and you will, and it will be exciting time. So look through this, guys. There's a checklist there that is directly from HUD. You can click on and go to that, and just familiarize yourself with this, and we'll get on to the next chapter.